So the magical question happens. What if 99 of my doctors say I'm disabled and one Social Security doctor says I'm not? Does that mean I'm going to lose? I cannot tell you how many times I've had people come to me swearing, I mean, patile, swearing on their life that because that one Social Security doctor said they're not disabled, that it's a slam dunk against the other 99. Okay, let's pause for a second on this. And this is where I switch into kind of combat mode with people. I'll say to them, how do you know that 99 doctors of yours said you were disabled? Well, they told me. Did you see it in the medical records? Well, no. Well, then again, how do you know? Well, they told me all my doctors have said I'm disabled. I always say the magical word all. They all told you that. Is that exactly the word that came out of their mouth? Yeah. When did they tell you that? Well, this visit. I did this with a gentleman one time, and I wasn't doing it to be nasty. I was doing it to show him that sometimes it's not as clean as they think it is. 4 different doctors he swore said he was disabled. And I said, what date did they tell you? He quoted me every date. And guess what happened when I went to the file? Well, not now indication in their file that the doctor, allow me to be up. I slipped for a second. There was not one doctor that said exactly what he said. There was one doctor who indicated that he suggested he should apply for disability benefits. There was another doctor that indicated that a form was provided and he will fill it out in later time. But none of the doctors clearly, or decisively said that the individual was disabled. In other words, a NAM doctor said that he was disabled. And he was sitting here, with egg on his face because he was like, that's what they told me. I said, this is why I tell people, don't sit up here and start banging your chest because you just know that you are disabled because your doctors have all said it. Social Security is a conspiracy. I tell people, you got to keep it in the proper context. Okay? Because if it's not in your medical records, they're not going to go and call all your doctors on the phone and say, hey, Mr. Joe Plumber over here said you said he was disabled. Why didn't you put it in the form? They're not going to do that. Other thing you need to be aware of. The ultimate decision of determining whether you're disabled or not is Social Security. That's their responsibility. So just because your doctor says you're disabled does not necessarily mean they have to follow what they say. Let me tell you why I say this. There are different agencies across the country and different organizations where they have a disability determination prong to them. Think about some workers' comp, veterans, some state disability agencies and so forth. They're all different. Why do I make that distinction? Because just because someone says you're disabled, you don't know if they're thinking about disability from the context of how Social Security views you as being disabled. So it is more compelling that if a doctor lays out what your express limitations are, that is more compelling than to have a situation where a doctor just merely says, hey, my name is Dr. Reeves. I've been treating Joe Plummer. I believe he's disabled and has been disabled since 2013. Now, they're going to look at me and say, okay, based on what? Based on what medical conditions are you relying on? What objective evidence do you have to support what you're saying? What limitations do they have that brought you to that determination? Basically, it's saying that you're disabled is a conclusory statement. In other words, it's a conclusion. I conclude they're disabled. But guess what? If Social Security has no clue how you came to that opinion, they can't give weight to that statement because you're just basically coming out your thigh. Now, is Social Security going to ignore the opinion of a doctor who spent 4 years in undergrad, 4 years in medical school, a year of internship, 4 years of residency, and then a fellowship after that? No, they're not. But at the same breath, they're not going to sit here just because you're a doctor. And I've seen this a million times. You'll have a doctor that fills out a script. Script now, not a whole letter. Script. Dr. Reeves, yes, person is disabled since January 2013. Well, okay. So it's important for you to remember two things. One, just because a lot of doctors say that you're disabled, you better see if they document that in your file. If it's not in your file, it's just you saying that's what they told you. No way of confirming it. Two, the final decision maker regarding disability is the Commissioner of Social Security, not the doctor. The doctor can give an opinion, an express opinion about what your limitations are and the basis by which that doctor believes you're limited, meaning what evidence they relied upon to render that conclusion. That's more compelling than just a doctor saying you're disabled. So whenever people start screaming that I had all these doctors who said I was disabled, I'm always like, did they say, are you sure that's what they said? Be mindful. Be mindful. Because I've seen situations where you'll have 3 or 4 different doctors and everybody will say, oh, they all said they were disabled. But then they'll fill out limitations and all their limitations are so different that one doctor's limitations shows you could probably do work, but they believe you're disabled based on their indication. Another one shows that you can do work, a totally different scenario because they're a different type of doctor. And guess what? Same thing. Looking at them collectively, you could probably still do work, which means they don't have an intimate knowledge of the Social Security regulations. Just know this. It's important to know what your doctor is saying specifically about how your condition limits you. The fact that they say you're disabled does not in of itself mean a slam dunk for you. And it doesn't mean that Social Security took precedence to Social Security doctor. Because trust me, a lot of times those Social Security doctors are detailed in breaking down why you're not disabled. If your doctors are equally detailed to show why you are, you're in a much better position than them just saying,